Human beings simply aren't built to function at the cruising altitude of a 747. Everest is without doubt the most dangerous place on Earth. Don't do that to me again, right?
You okay?
Yeah.
It hurts. It's dangerous.
Whoa! Hey, we got to hold on. You're right, John. Good. Okay.
All right, steady up.
They see a regular guy can follow impossible dreams. Maybe they'll do the same.
I'm on the top of Everest, Alan. We made it.
All right, guys, time to go home.
Looking good, Beck. Looking good.
Go to Rob. You gotta get yourself down.
There is a massive storm headed your way.
Keep moving. Stop. That's the wrong way. Stop. Let's go. There's no oxygen.
Rob, can you hear me? You've got to get moving. You've got to come on down.
Come on, get up. Get out there. I need help.
Mount Everest, the mountain that turns people into landmarks. Most mountains don't have bodies on them. Think about that for a second. You can hike thousands of mountains all over the world and never once come across a frozen reminder that somebody didn't make it home. Everest is different. On Mount Everest, some of the people who die never leave. Not because nobody cares, not because nobody tried, but because the mountain is so dangerous that recovering the dead can be just as deadly as the climb itself. And that's where this story starts. Most people know Everest as the tallest mountain on Earth. 29,032 feet above sea level, the roof of the world, the ultimate bucket list challenge, the place where climbers spend years training, spend tens of thousands of dollars, and risk their lives for a chance to stand on top of the planet for a few minutes. That's the version you usually hear about, the inspirational version, the motivational version, the follow your dreams version. But there's another side to Everest, a side that doesn't show up in the postcards, a side buried beneath the summit photos. Because Everest isn't really a mountain, it's a giant survival test. And the mountain doesn't care who you are. It doesn't care how much money you spent to get there. It doesn't care how many marathons you've run. It doesn't care how many followers you got. Respectfully, the mountain ain't impressed. Everybody gets treated the same. Beginners, experts, millionaires, professional athletes, everybody. Because once you climb high enough, your body starts dying. Not metaphorically, literally. Now hold up, pause. That sounds dramatic, but I'm not exaggerating. Above about 26,000 feet sits a region known as the death zone. And no cap, that name is not marketing, it's biology. At sea level, every breath delivers plenty of oxygen to your bloodstream. Your muscles work, your brain works, your organs work, everything operates normally. But as you climb higher and higher, the atmosphere gets thinner. The amount of oxygen available with each breath drops dramatically. By the time climbers enter the death zone, they're getting roughly 1/3 of the oxygen available at sea level. 1/3. Let that sink in. Imagine trying to sprint while breathing through a straw. Now imagine doing that while carrying equipment, climbing ice-covered rock, standing in sub-zero temperatures, and fighting hurricane-force winds. That's Everest. And here's the part people miss. Your body never adapts completely. You can train, you can acclimate, you can prepare, but once you're high enough, your body is slowly breaking down no matter what you do. Your muscles weaken, your reaction time slows, your thinking becomes less clear, your judgment starts slipping. And the scary part, you often don't realize it's happening. Everest doesn't usually beat people with one giant disaster. It beats them with small mistakes, a missed turn, a delayed decision, a broken oxygen regulator, a weather forecast that's wrong by a few hours, a climber deciding to push just a little farther. That's all it takes. Because this mountain is located in one of the harshest environments on Earth. Straddling the border between Nepal and Tibet, Everest rises from the Himalayan mountain range like something that doesn't belong on this planet. The summit reaches so high into the atmosphere that jet stream winds regularly slam into it at speeds exceeding 100 miles per hour. Temperatures can drop below -40 degrees. Exposed skin can freeze in minutes, sometimes seconds. And yet every year, hundreds of people line up to climb it. That's wild when you really think about it. People willingly pay money to go somewhere their body literally cannot survive for long. But Everest has a way of pulling people in. It's the highest, the biggest, the most famous. For climbers, standing on the summit is like reaching the Super Bowl, the World Series, and the Olympics all at the same time. It's the achievement people spend entire lives chasing, and that's exactly what makes it dangerous. Because the closer people get to the summit, the harder it becomes to turn around. Imagine spending years training, spending tens of thousands of dollars, flying across the world, spending weeks climbing, getting within a few hundred feet of the top. Then somebody tells you it's time to go back. Most people don't want to hear that, and some don't listen. That's where Everest becomes deadly. Not at the bottom, not at base camp, not even halfway up. The mountain gets most dangerous near the very thing people came for, the summit. Because reaching the top isn't actually the goal, coming back down is. And that's a lesson Everest has taught repeatedly throughout history. One of the most famous examples happened in 1996. What started as a normal summit push turned into one of the deadliest disasters the mountain had ever seen. Multiple climbing teams moved toward the summit during a narrow weather window. Conditions looked manageable. Everything seemed fine. Then the mountain changed. A powerful storm moved in. Visibility collapsed. Temperatures plummeted. Winds intensified. Climbers became separated from their teams. Some ran out of oxygen. Others became disoriented. Some simply couldn't find their way back. By the time it was over, 8 people were dead. Experienced climbers, professional guides, people who had successfully climbed difficult mountains before, people who knew what they were doing. Everest didn't care. Because that's the thing about this mountain. Experience helps. Preparation helps. Training helps. But none of those things guarantee survival, and the mountain keeps proving it. Even today, decades later, Everest continues collecting stories. Stories of triumph, stories of survival, stories of people who achieved the impossible, but also stories of people who never came home. Stories so common that some bodies have remained on the mountain for years, sometimes decades, frozen in place by temperatures that rarely rise above freezing, preserved by the same environment that killed them. Some climbers became unofficial landmarks. Imagine that, a human being becoming part of the navigation route. That's crazy work, but that's Everest, a place where nature is so extreme that death itself can become permanent scenery. And somehow, despite all of this, people keep coming. Every spring, every climbing season, every year. Because there is something about standing at the highest point on Earth that continues pulling people upward, even when they know the risks, even when they know the stories, even when they know exactly what happened to the people who came before them. And before we get into the disasters, the bodies, the rescues, and the moments that made Everest legendary, you need to understand one thing. The mountain isn't trying to kill you. It doesn't have to. All it has to do is wait. Eventually the cold, the altitude, the exhaustion, the weather, and the thin air start doing the work for it. And that's when Everest becomes one of the deadliest places on Earth. Now peep this. Before most climbers even get close to the summit, they have to survive one of the most dangerous sections of the entire mountain, the Khumbu Icefall. And no cap, this place looks like something out of a disaster movie. Imagine a frozen river that's still moving. That's basically what it is. Massive towers of ice the size of buildings. Deep crevasses hidden beneath snow. Aluminum ladders stretched across gaps that drop hundreds of feet into darkness. Blocks of ice that can shift, crack, or collapse without warning. The entire glacier is constantly moving. Not every year, not every month, every single day. Think about that for a second. You're climbing through terrain that is literally changing underneath your feet while you're standing on it. That's wild. And climbers have to cross it multiple times during their expedition. Not because they want to, because they have to. The route to Everest runs straight through it. Many experienced climbers consider the icefall more dangerous than the summit itself. Because no matter how skilled you are, there are some things you simply can't control. An avalanche doesn't care about experience. A collapsing serac doesn't care about training. Gravity ain't checking your resume before it drops a mountain-sized chunk of ice on your head. Respectfully, that's crazy work. As climbers move higher through Camp 1, Camp 2, Camp 3, and eventually Camp 4, the mountain keeps stripping away comfort. Then it starts stripping away survival. Food becomes harder to eat. Sleep becomes harder to get. Breathing becomes harder. Even simple tasks become exhausting. Something as basic as putting on gloves can leave climbers winded. Now hold up, pause. Imagine being so high that getting dressed feels like cardio. That's Everest. And here's where it gets interesting. A lot of people assume the summit is the most dangerous part of the climb. It's actually the return trip, because by the time climbers reach the top, most of them are physically and mentally exhausted. Oxygen supplies are running low. Weather conditions are changing, energy reserves are gone, and now they still have to make it all the way back down. Many fatalities happen after reaching the summit. Let that sink in. People achieve their dream, take the photo, stand on top of the world, and then die on the way home. That is how little Everest cares about human goals. One of the most haunting realities of the mountain is the bodies. Not gonna hold you, this is where the story gets dark. Over the decades, hundreds of climbers have died on Everest. Many were recovered, many were not. Some remain exactly where they fell, frozen by temperatures that rarely allow decomposition to occur normally. The mountain essentially preserves them. In some cases, climbers have passed the same bodies for years, sometimes decades. One of the most famous examples became known as Green Boots, a climber whose body remained near a cave along a common climbing route for many years. Thousands of climbers passed him. Think about how surreal that is. You're attempting one of the hardest climbs on Earth. The air is thin, your brain is struggling, your body is exhausted, and you're walking past physical reminders of people who didn't make it. For real, there aren't many places on Earth where death becomes part of the trail, and that's the part people miss when they talk about Everest. The danger isn't hidden, it's right in front of you. The mountain shows you exactly what can happen. People just convince themselves it won't happen to them. Then came another tragedy. In 2014, one of the deadliest avalanches in Everest history thundered through the Khumbu icefall. 16 Sherpa climbers were killed. Now, if you've never heard of Sherpas before, let me explain something. These men are the backbone of Everest. They're the guides, the route builders, the load carriers, the experts who help make these expeditions possible. Without Sherpas, modern Everest climbing would look completely different. The avalanche shocked the climbing world, not only because of the loss of life, but because it reminded everyone how little control humans actually have on this mountain. Then came 2015, and somehow things got even worse. A massive earthquake struck Nepal. The shaking triggered an enormous avalanche that swept into Everest base camp. The impact was devastating. 19 people lost their lives. Dozens more were injured. And suddenly the safest part of the expedition became one of the deadliest. That's Everest. Danger can come from above, below, beside you, or from an entirely different mountain collapsing miles away. And yet people still climb. Every year, hundreds of them, sometimes too many. In recent years, photos from Everest have gone viral showing traffic jams near the summit. Long lines of climbers standing shoulder to shoulder in the death zone, waiting. Now think about that for a second. You're standing nearly 29,000 feet above sea level. Your body is already struggling to survive, and you're stuck in line, like you're waiting for concert tickets. That's crazy work. Every minute spent waiting burns oxygen, burns energy, burns time. The mountain keeps taking from you while you're standing still, and eventually, somebody runs out of one of those resources, usually more than one, because Everest doesn't just test strength, it tests decision making. Keep it a buck. Some of the most important choices climbers make happen before they ever reach the summit. When to turn around, when to rest, when to descend, when to ignore ego, because ego has killed a lot of people on mountains. The summit creates a powerful psychological trap. You can see it, you know it's close. You sacrificed everything to get there. Turning around feels like failure, but on Everest, turning around is often the smartest decision you can make. Real talk, the mountain will be there next year. You might not. That's a lesson many climbers have learned the hard way. And despite all the tragedies, all the disasters, all the warnings, Everest continues pulling people in because humans are naturally drawn toward extremes. The deepest ocean, the hottest desert, the coldest continent, the tallest mountain. We want to know what's there. We want to know if we can survive it. We want to know if we can conquer it. But Everest teaches the same lesson over and over again. Nobody conquers the mountain. You survive the mountain. There's a difference. The summit isn't a victory over nature. It's a temporary visit. One the mountain allows if conditions are right. And that's why Everest remains one of the most fascinating places on Earth. Not because it's the tallest, not because it's the coldest, not because it's the most famous, but because it forces people to confront something most of us spend our lives avoiding. Limits. The limits of the human body, the limits of preparation, the limits of ambition, the limits of survival. And sometimes those limits arrive one step sooner than expected. So let me ask y'all something. Would you climb Mount Everest knowing your body starts dying before you even reach the summit? Would you walk through the Khumbu icefall? Would you cross ladders over crevices hundreds of feet deep? Would you spend weeks climbing through one of the harshest environments on Earth for a few minutes on top of the world? Or would you respectfully leave that mission to somebody else? Let me know in the comments. And tell me, where should we go next?
You see?